Hey guys, Brett Alegre-Wood here, coming to you from Singapore actually. I've arrived here now. I start Tuesday my first seminar. I've got 3 weeks of seminars all through Asia. So I just thought I'd give you a quick video, just talk to you about what I call the 5 expat success tips. And these are the 5 things that being an expat, if you do these, life will get a lot easier and your investments in the UK or Australia will become so much more easier for it. Because the thing I notice with a lot of expats is they almost apply the same rules that you would as if you're investing in your own country. So for instance, if you're living in Singapore and you're investing in Singapore, you're exposed to the news, you're exposed to the media, you know what's going on generally. But when you're buying in a different country, you've got to be wary of the various idiosyncrasies of that country. And so if you apply these 5 things, and particularly for the UK and Australia, these 5 things apply. Now, today I'm not going to talk so much about Australia today. It'll be mainly focused on the UK. So the 5 success tips for expats, what are they? So the first one really is quality builders. All right. What I mean by that is this. If you're going to buy overseas, you've got to make sure you're buying from quality builders. Now, in the UK right now, the building specs and regulations are pretty stringent. So it's not that there's going to be anything structurally necessarily wrong with the property. In other words, the quality of the property you're going to get is going to be reasonably good from a structural perspective. So the walls, the roof, the foundations, all those sort of things. You're not going to have too many problems with those. Where quality building comes into it in this perspective is really just with the little snagging things and the little post-completion things. Things that when client moves in or a tenant moves into that property, they're going to go, great property, but this, okay, or but that. And it may be everything from a crack in the wall to, above the hob not painted. It could be any little things like that. And what you find with quality builders is they're going to have an aftercare or an after-sales service number that you can call up and they'll get things fixed, all right? So the quality builders. Now, in the UK, we sort of classify our builders in 3. And I'm going to make it really easy. So we've got the national builders, which what I'd say is the big 5, okay? Then you've got the regional builders, and then you've got local builders, all right? Now, realistically, you have the little one-man bands. If you're an expat, don't buy from them, all right? Just don't take the risk, because the problem is you get it wrong once, and you're left with that investment trying to put all the hassle and time. Now, I mentioned time there. Time is your biggest asset over there. What we really want to do as an expat is you want to build your portfolio almost on autopilot, okay? So you're not putting the time in, what I call set and forget. You set it up in order to forget about it for periods of 2 years, or forget about it on a day-to-day basis for periods of 2 years. So in order to do that, you can't afford to have things going wrong. So if you're an expat, go for that top tier, the national builders, and maybe down into the regional builders a little bit more, okay? But certainly, look, if you're going to go and you want pretty much certainty, then just stick with the national builders, all right? You do that, you're not going to have any problems. So that's the first thing, quality builders. The second thing is where to invest, okay? Now, as an expat, most expats immediately say to me, I only want London. And it's sort of, they rule out everything else. And look, I'm not saying that's wrong, but what I'm saying is actually, if you understand the market, and you understand a bit, and you're working with a professional company that's going to manage this for you, then expand your zone out a little bit. And I'll explain why in a second. London is great, okay? So we always include London. But London and university towns. So the first point was quality builders. You're going to work with quality builders in London and university towns. Now there's about 13 university towns that I'd recommend. There's actually about, I think, 100 or 200 universities. There's an amazing amount of universities in the UK. We're not talking about every single town. We're talking about the larger towns, really cities, okay? Places where there's a cathedral, okay? Because generally that determines a city from a village, if you like, in the UK. So, quality builders, London and university towns. Now, the reason I say university towns and add that on is because London is great. London is fantastic, but the prices of London have already been factored into it, all right? What that means is you're going to get a lot of capital growth out of London, all right, which is great, fantastic. But what you want to do is you want to balance that through university towns. One thing you are going to get, okay, is the higher yields. You're going to get a bigger discount, higher yields. And actually, overall, it can balance your portfolio over quite well. Because what you've got to realise is at some point, interest rates are going to go up. And I'm not talking about from 0.5 to 2%. I'm talking from 2% to 4%, 5%. And when they do that, if you've got just London, your cash flow can be affected by that. So by having some of these university towns that yield better, okay, you can balance your portfolio out. So it's a good strategy to have, especially if you're building a portfolio. And let's face it, you're not going to do this just for one property. If you're investing overseas, you're a serious investor, you're going to build a portfolio. Okay, so quality builders, all right? We're going to buy them in London and university towns. The third thing is fully managed, okay? Don't even think for a second about trying to manage it yourself. The regulations these days, the laws these days, the education of the tenants about the laws, deposits, all these sort of changes that are happening, you're not in the market to be aware of. And that can put you at substantial risk. So it's not worth taking that risk. Get it fully managed, claim your time back, okay? Your time, again, most valuable commodity. So get somebody else, a professional, to do that for you. Okay, good. So quality builders, London university towns, fully managed. Okay, so fourth one, take a trip. And I don't mean take a trip to see the property, because actually, whether you see the property or not, it doesn't matter anymore, because actually with things like Google Maps, with a whole range of the internet searches you can do and things like that, you don't really need to go and see the property, because half the time, if you're going to be buying off plan, you won't see the property anyway. What I mean by take a trip is take a trip to see the people you're going to be working with, because you want to build a relationship here. If you're going to build a portfolio of 10, 20, 30 properties or whatever it is, or even if it's just 4 or 5, okay, you're going to want to know the people you're working with. Go and see that they've got an office. Go and see that they're a physical reality, that they're there. Because so many times we see little companies that have a great website, looks very corporate-y, and then when you go and see them, or you type in their address into Google Maps, it comes up as somebody's bedroom. And unfortunately, that happens a lot. You can't risk working with those people, because they're here today, gone tomorrow. They have a couple of bad months, they jump out and do something else. What you need to work with is a professional company that can actually fulfill all the requirements of what you need to do to manage and look after and grow your portfolio. So you're talking about, with an office, you're talking about with staff, you're talking about with aftercare, you're talking about with, proper sourcing relationships. They know various developers, they know, all these sort of things that add up to being the real company you want to be working with. Now, if you can't take a trip there, then make sure they're doing seminars over here. Okay, so wherever you are, whether that be in Asia, the Middle East, or Africa, okay? Wherever they are, if they're doing seminars there, then go and meet with the people, get a real sense. Now look, if they're just trying to hard sell you lots of property, and their exhibition or their seminar is just about, here's a great property, you should buy it, then I would run for the hills, because I can pretty much guarantee the price you're buying from them is going to be well and truly inflated against the price you could negotiate by going and actually doing it yourself, all right? So these are really good tips to be aware of, all right? So quality builders, London university towns, fully managed, take a trip or meet them, okay? The final one, and this is probably most importantly as you start to build your portfolio and as you start to get a bigger portfolio. And again, it comes down to this time thing. One point of contact, all right? Ideally, what you want is you want to be able to have your whole portfolio managed by somebody, and there's companies, and look, a blatant thing here, my company does this, we've got one point of contact. So whether it be from lettings, whether it be from mortgages, solicitors, carpets, flooring, curtains, furniture, anything, any questions you've got, education, support, all of that is one point of contact. Now, so you can make one phone call and speak to the person that actually can answer the question for you. And that's fundamentally important, because what you don't want to do, oftentimes if you're in, let's say, Singapore, and you're investing in the UK, there's 8 hours difference. That 8 hours means that actually you can only get them in your night time, not the morning. So you're very restricted. So you don't want to have to be making 10 calls to 10 different people, because you think about it. If you've got 10 properties, you've got 10 tenants, 10 tenant landlords, you've got 10 of each of the various people. Now the problem with that is that obviously it's no good for you. Okay guys, that's it for me today. We'll look forward to seeing you at the various seminars that we've got running. All of them will be on the website if you just click through, and we'll speak to you soon. See you later.